The next day was the Saturday, which we don't often talk about when it comes to Easter weekend or the Passion Week of Jesus Christ. The quiet Saturday is what I refer to between the time that Jesus was buried in the tomb on the Friday night and the Sunday morning when he rose from the dead. So that entire Saturday, which was the Sabbath, a day of rest, is when Jesus was in the tomb and the disciples hid themselves and they were afraid to go out. And we know this because after the resurrection, they were still hiding in their house. So they most likely hid on the Saturday as well. And you can just imagine how devastated they were. Mary, who was warned even while Jesus was a baby, all the way in Luke chapter 2, there was a man who prophesied that there would be a sword that would go through her soul, referring to the pain she will feel as a mother who watches her son getting crucified. If you put yourself into Mary's shoes, she was most likely around the age of 14 when she got pregnant and conceived Jesus as a virgin in her womb. And she gave birth to Jesus knowing that this is the Messiah, the Savior of the world. And she loved him and she raised him. And eventually he got out the house and he started his ministry. And she didn't see him as much during his ministry because he had so much work to do. And then when it came to the crucifixion, she was actually there watching her son getting beaten 39 times by the whip, getting a crown of thorns, getting crucified, hanging on the cross for 9 hours. You can just imagine how devastatingly heartbroken Mary must have felt. And Jesus even looked out for her then because he made sure that John, one of his best friends, would take care of his mother. And John was like her new son. And Mary felt an immense pain. And I can imagine she did not sleep after the crucifixion and she was awake until the Sunday morning. I don't think anybody really slept. And Peter, he bitterly cried after denying Jesus 3 times. I can only imagine how much he cried and how bad Peter must have felt on the quiet Saturday when Jesus was dead and in the tomb, and there was nothing he could do about it. He denied Jesus, he had guilt, and the last time he saw Jesus, he didn't do everything right. Peter cut off one of the person's ears, and Jesus healed that person. And Peter tried to protect him, but this is how things had to happen according to Jesus. And Peter must have been devastated, and I don't know where he was, but he was most likely hiding with the disciples, knowing that his master is dead, and the last time he saw him was right after he denied him, crying bitterly and regretting that decision, wondering if he will see him again. Even though Peter and the disciples were told a few times by Jesus that he will die and rise again, they didn't always believe him and they didn't always understand what he was referring to. But I can imagine they had doubts because this was not what they expected and they did not understand it. It's many years later for us to look back. It's easy for us to understand, but being in that situation, I can imagine that he did not always understand what was going on. And they must have been definitely mourning Jesus. Just imagine the best person you've ever met that didn't do anything wrong, that healed so many people, that cast out demons, that saved people from leprosy, from 12 years of sickness, from 38 years of not walking, from being born blind, from casting out demons out of a child, from casting out a demon after 18 years, and that person was dead. I can imagine if there was a movie where you have it from the perspective of the people that were healed, how they must have felt seeing that the man who saved them and healed them crucified in such a brutal way. It must have broken their heart. So this quiet Saturday, is something we don't talk about, but I believe it should be used as a time of reflection between the crucifixion and the resurrection, where we wait for the resurrection to come, where we know it happens Sunday and we celebrate it every Sunday. But Saturday, the quiet Saturday, is there to ponder and meditate about what happened.